Hey, welcome back to Jamieson Repair Shop. I'm back from holidays. I've been slacking off for a month now, doing nothing. Anyway, Thunderbird's over there needs some work. But while I was gone, had some issues with my wife had some issues with we can see it or not, the overhead heater right up there. So let's go down. I think this is going to be the first project on my return is getting that heater straightened away. So let's go down, turn it on, and see what's going on with it. Well, this is a radiant heater. I quite enjoy the radiant heater. There's some pros and cons on these things, especially you're in a shop where you're working with gasoline and stuff like that. You got to remember that this is open flame, and painting as well when you get a lot of vapors in the air. So generally what I will do, I'll shut it down if I'm doing those types of jobs. I had it vented to our intake came from the outside, but I found it gave too much moisture buildup on the discharge. So I've taken that off. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about here. The problem we're having here now with this thing is when I turn it on, and you'll see if it'll do it. Not turning on at all anymore. So maybe, all right, what's going on with that? It's not even turning on. I hear the motor stuck. Nope, it's not coming on at all. I hear it clicking at the motor. I hear it. Let's see if we can tap it to get it going. Because it was squealing really bad. And my wife's been keeping it going with this broom handle here. But I think those days are over. All right, well, it looks like that motor has to come off because it is not starting. When I came home, it was squealing, but at least it was still working. So it looks like that has to get done pretty quick then. I can hear it humming up there. Yeah. All right, let's get that down. All right, I got it started. But as you can tell, it's got some issues. Yeah, still it has to come off. I quietened out pretty good there. Anyway, I don't think that's a reliable heater motor. There we are, we're up at the motor. I gotta unplug it first, safety, unplug the power, take this panel off, disconnect the two wires inside. They'll be on the control box inside there. Then there's 4 of these self-tappers. I'm using 8mm, but I think they're 5/16. The idea of this is that this motor, the bearings are gone in this motor, that's clear. But I need to know what size of bearings are in it, if nothing else, the frame size of this motor. I know what the motor is, a horsepower and all that stuff. It's a 1/40th of a horsepower, but if I can get a new bearing, I'll put a new bearing in it, because this is what we do here at Jamieson's Repair Shop. We fix things. I could throw it away and buy a new motor for 150 bucks, but if I can get a bearing for, a couple of bucks, I'd rather do that than replace the whole thing. I did find one of these in New York, this whole assembly. By the time I get it, it's about $250. So I'm going to try to repair it because that's what I do. To get at the electricals, I had to spin the head of the burner end of the radiant heater around. Let's go up and take a look at what's inside this thing. There's not much in them. We'll get him here. He's all unplugged, as you can see. There's this control box. It's a Honeywell control box. These are a hot surface igniter system. So there's a set of wires that go out from the control box that go out to the hot surface igniter. That's those guys. Here's the gas valve here. This is a pressure protection. I guess if it loses its airflow, or there's too much or back pressure, it'll kick out. There's a transformer up there. It's 24 volt, 110 to 24 volt. That's what this valve is, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I I think it's 24, but it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, that's what runs it. It gives it power. The control box, I've had issues with this in the past. This is the particular one that I'm using. It has a timer on it that's set up for this particular burner and this valve rather, and the whole setup. And there's power in. There's not much in there. So gas, when you turn it on, the fan comes on, and then it checks the box here, checks and checks to make sure that there's airflow, not plugged and all this stuff. And then the hot surface igniter will come on for so many seconds. And during that time, the box will turn the gas on, which comes in through here, through this gas valve. And then there's the gas ignites. And if it doesn't ignite, then the box knows, it senses, so there's feedback through these two little wires. You can see them there. It'll know that it didn't ignite because there's not a feedback and resistance in the hot surface igniter, and it'll kill the whole system, and it'll start doing it. I think it'll do about 4 times, 3 or 4 times, I just forget, and it'll shut itself down. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's like a furnace in your basement and stuff like that. Very similar. Natural gas, by the way, not propane. This is natural gas. Anyway, that's kind of a very high overview of how this all works. It's not super complicated, even though it kind of looks that way, but it's not. All right, let's get back at these. Get this blower off. Now that I have the wiring unhooked, the 2 wires right there. And we'll get down on the bench, and we'll see if there's something wrong. Well, I know there's something wrong with it. There she is, down off the blower, off the heating head. So I have this other one. I've had it for years. I was going to make a forge out of it. And they're almost identical, except for the flange. They look almost identical, except for the flange. The difference is, this unit is only a 60 CFM unit, and this is a 100 CFM. So a little worried about this not working. However, I did some checks on the motor on this one, and the motor is equivalent to that one. They're the same. This one actually is a little bit higher RPM. It's 3250. It's a little higher. This one is a 3000 RPM motor. Same specs electrically. So I do have options. The only thing is the frame size on this one. Like the frame, it bolts in differently. So I don't want to muck with this. Unless I absolutely have to, I could maybe take the motor off, put it on this housing, or just get this working with the fan of that one. But anyway, that's a different story. Not going to put a lot of thought into it at this point in time, but it is only 60 CFM, so I don't think it'll have enough airflow to run that furnace properly. Not with this blower housing. The motor itself, I'm confident because it's the same amperage, all that jazz, a little higher speed. So we'll set it aside for now, but it's an option. So get back to this guy. So we're gonna pull, I already took the flange off for the air intake. So now I have to get rid of this part of it here, take the cage out of it, the squirrel cage, and see if I can get this motor off of the blower housing. If I can fix this, this is the way to go. Worst case scenario is I buy the $250 one out of New York, which is no big deal. I mean, if that's what you have to do sometimes, that's what you have to do. That's life. But I do want to try to fix it. And if I need something in the meantime, I'm sure I could get this geared up to work as a temporary one. So the reason I'm saying having these plan B and plan C is that it's warm right now here in Saskatchewan. We're lucky enough to have some really mild temperatures. But if I have to wait for a while for a bearing or the actual whole assembly from the United States, then it's going to get cold here in the next couple of days. So I want heat in this garage. I don't want it to be cold out here. A lot of stuff I don't want to freeze. So I do have the backup one, and I know, well, I feel very confident I can get the backup one working. So let's get this thing apart and see if we can find out if we can at least lube the bearings in this for now. and get a number off the bearings, and maybe I can't do anything with it. And if not, I can see if I can get a frame size, try to get a replacement motor, and worst case scenario, like I said, buy the whole assembly. And I know I can get one of those, but it won't be here for a couple of weeks. Well, I took the grating off of it, just 2 screws side to side. Now I'm going to take the squirrel cage out. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit longer Allen key, but you can do, or I can do, is I can come through the cage, through the opening and get at it. If I had a longer Allen key, it would be much simpler, but I think this might do it. If I have trouble, I'll go find another one. That was pretty simple. I just used my pliers to reach in and turn it. Very simple. Came off easy. Slid right off the shaft. I tried to put some oil in there, try to quiet this down, but I think it's the rear bearing, not the front bearing, because it's a bit scratchy, and most likely both bearings. All right, I'm going to take this, see if I can get this housing off now. It looks like there's just 2 nuts holding it on, but we'll see what happens there. Well, that didn't take much. It was stuck on pretty strong onto this cork gasket here. Tap with the rubber mallet, dropped it right off. If you're doing this and not videoing it, you might want to index how that motor went on so your wiring is in the right side. There's only 2 ways, so it's one way or the other. But once you get it all back together and get up and you find the wiring is too short because you put it on the wrong way, it could be an issue. So just index it with something, put a mark on it, a paint mark, something, boom, and then you'll know which way it goes on. I have the video, so I'll be able to look at the video and know. We're getting down to the heart of it now. Cork gasket stuck on all the way around, so I just peeled off the areas I need. I couldn't, these are 11/32 nuts. I didn't have a socket deep enough for that, so I just used my little pliers, give them a start, and they're loose. So I'm going to set you up in the tripod and I'll show you when I pull this apart. Okay, let's get these bolts out. So this won't take much. I've never been in one of these types of motors before, but we shall see. And actually, before I start, I will index these, so I want them to be on the right way. I can find a paint marker here somewhere. Just give me a minute. This is not it's for welding, so, oh yeah, because, oh, it's not going to mark on that so well. So what I'm going to do, since it's not going to mark on there so well, I am going to scratch it like so, and like that, and like that. There. So now I'll know how that motor goes back together. I'll give it, it's not in a rusty situation. So there we go. So that's done. Always good to mark the stuff if you're not sure when you get it. That stuff there, it's hard to tell even on a video whether it is right or not. There's really not much to go by. I mean, you can tell by the end, this here, but now I have the marks. All right, enough talking about the marks. Again, this is my first time taking one of these apart, so we shall see what's inside of this sucker. May not be so easy to get apart, who knows? There's no coating on it. Sometimes they just need a little tap with stuff, so. Gentle, just go gentle. There it comes. Just gentle, you don't need to beat the crap out of everything. All right, let's have a look. So you can see it as well. Wiring. I take the front off first. There's the front off. All right. There's a little shim. And there's a rubber seal, like a little neoprene seal on the front. And there's a shim that goes in like that. So I'm going to put it right back down in the hole. And there's the bearing in the front. It's got a cap on it. We'll get that after. And all the windings. So if I don't know if I can pull that out yet, so I'm going to see what's going on. It'll probably come up the other way, which it appears to be Oh, something's got to give here. All right. The wire has to be pushed in and fed through. Don't just yank on stuff, because the wiring is hooked to the winding on this. All right, hang on to the armature. Oh, this doesn't seem like it wants to, so I'm going to put this. I hope you can still see that. All right, you can still see it. So I'm going to feed this wiring through to release this unit, and it'll all come out as one. There she is. So the windings are the windings. I'll clean them up, make sure they're clean, but overall there's not much I can do there. Well, I'm not going to do anything there. Set those aside. We know that the back is where the wires are, so that's all. We don't have to worry about that. The front cover and the windings can stay together. Now what we got here, we got the armature and the rear bearing set up. So usually these will pop right out, because they're usually just pressed into that tin case, because there's nothing else that I can see holding it. Yeah, it looks just a rubber. It's the same as this, it's just pressed into the case. But I can feel it is in bad shape. I wonder if I can get this cap off this. Let's take this little O-ring off, this little seal. There's the seal. That goes on in the shaft like that. So the flats, there's a flat surface in this. Let me just show it to you. So there's a flat surface, and it goes down toward the motor. The lips go out toward the fan housing. If I can get this little cover off, I'm pretty sure that the bearings on each side will be the same. All right, there she comes. The little boot, the insulator boot, will come up. There she comes, just like so. And inside that, not only is there just the boot, there's actually a little bushing as well, like a spring-loaded. Oh, you can see that. It's like a little spring-loaded piece of steel. Keep those together the way they are, and I'll clean them up. They just hold tension on it a bit. It looks like it keeps the, yeah, it just holds tension, holds that seal, it looks like, down, and a little tension on the bearing. So put that in there. Let's have a look at this bearing. See if I can get a number off of it. Then I'll go after the other one. These looks like a pretty common bearing to me. Might be able to grease these. Well, I am going to grease them and put them back in, but I'll order new bearings anyway. This is, I can't tell. I'm going to have to either take a picture of it with the camera. I don't want to take them off until I get new ones. So, but what I can do is I can lift this seal right here. I can lift this seal up and see if I can get some grease down underneath of it, or lube of some sort. That bearing doesn't feel bad, but the back one doesn't feel so good. All right, so, and I'm pretty sure all that's holding these bearings into this cap is just that rubber boot that we had here. So this is pressed down into the back. So I'm gonna have to get that apart and then get the numbers off it. So let me see if I can tap this off with the rubber hammer. There she goes, just like so. There, just like that. Oh yeah, this one's seen better days. So in this here, I'll just leave that armature right there. And what's in there is just a socket to carry it, but it's dry. You can see it's dried right out. So, and the actual insulator is split. So I'll have to do something with that. So it's been squealing. That bearing is in bad shape. Let's take a peek. Get that. Oh, that's rough. I'll have to make one of those or find one somewhere. Yeah. This bearing is beat. It's tough. You can't even, like, you should be able to spin that. It's dried right out. So what I'm going to do, I'll get a little pick. And actually what I'm going to do is see if I have bearings like that, because I may have some. But if I don't, I'll get the numbers, get them ordered. And if I can get them tomorrow, I won't put this back together. So what I was going to say is I'll get my little pick, dental pick that seal out, lube in there as best I can, make it so it spins easily. This one's fine. It's decent. Oh, there's numbers on the edge of these too. Yeah. This is, I can't read that. And these are NTN bearings, I think. Anyway, there are some numbers. You can see them there. Maybe you can see them better than I can. But there are some numbers on the outside of the bearing race. All right, so that's it for now. I'll get these numbers and I'll see if I can get this bearing lubed up. And I don't want to take it off, like I said, right now, because a lot of times you could do more damage by getting them off. I'll have to do something with this insulator. It's hard as a rock, so it's been hard. It's been hot, rather. So, oh, where are we? This needs to be something done with it. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll get my wife to print a new one on a 3D printer. That's probably an idea. Alright, so I'll put that back over with that one, clean that up. So let me get the bearings figured out. And we'll get this back together in no time at all. These are actually skateboard wheels, or bearings rather. So look, I put a little bit of deep creep in there because I want to pull this bearing off. And we actually have a bunch of them. Just putting some deep creep in there, look how much it changed it. But the bearing's shot. So I have a wrench sitting up here. There's a little E-clip inside there, so you got to make sure you clear the E-clip. Or I have to make sure I clear the E-clip. I'm hoping this will work. I got this good and tight in the vise. I got myself a small punch. I may have to go to a larger punch. But what I don't have is a hammer. Let's get a hammer. Okay, back with a hammer. Let's see if this will tap this out. There it goes. I have some rags underneath to catch the armature because you don't want to damage the armature, not even dent it. If you guys can see that, it's going. It's almost out. There it is, popped right out. Caught in my cloth, and there's that E-clip I was telling you about. So you want to have a wrench big enough that the E-clip goes over. There. Now Beverly says she has a whole bunch of these when she had her, she was going through the fidget spinner craze. A whole bunch of these skateboard bearings. And that's what they are. They're 608 LS. S means for seal. And very common bearing. You can get like 10 of these for less than $20 on Amazon here in Canada. That's pretty cheap when you can buy something for less than $20 in Canada on Amazon, delivered to the house. Anyway, so she has them. So when she's a little busy right now, once she finds those bearings, I'll pop two on. This side here, I have some thin wrenches that'll go in there, and I'll do the same thing on that side. It has a little bit further to travel, but I'll give it a little deep creep. I don't think this will fit. No, it's not going to. So I'll give it a little deep creep in the meantime, and we'll be all set. All right, we'll let that soak. Perfect. Alright, I got it set up in one of my thin wrenches that just fits in there only. So I'm hoping this will work just as well. Yeah, it's going. See, it's already loosened up. So now I got to try to hold it there with one hand and hit it. Actually, since it is going so easily, probably tap it with the, yeah, just like that. If I, no, not even any weight in it. So I'll catch the armature. There we go. Yeah, that was easy. It didn't damage any of the end. And I was going to say I could clean that up to put the squirrel cage back on. Good. So I'll get 2 new skateboard bearings from my wife, and we'll have this furnace going again for really no cost. Or we'll say if I had to buy 10 of these for $20 divided by, so what's this, $2 a piece? It's pretty cheap, so $4 to fix it up. But hey, let's not brag yet. There, I got some wheel bearings. Skateboard wheel bearings. 608s. They're off a skateboard. The difference is these are a metal shield inside, and then there's a rubber shield on the outside. Other than that, they're the same bearing that was on there. And I don't think it matters which side goes out, which side goes in, because these are pretty encapsulated. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it with the same. I'll put the metal one inward. I put a little bit of lubricate grease on the shaft here, and I have a rag on the, should tighten up a tiny bit. There's a rag on the vise so I don't damage the armature, and I have a socket. It's a 3/4 socket. Now these won't take much. The reason I use using this 3/4, this cone here fits right over the bearing, but it doesn't allow the bearing to fall in it. So let's see if we can get this on. I'm going to use the rubber mallet first, see how that goes. There it goes. So now I got to be very careful to not go and push this E-clip on, because it can't go beyond the E-clip, so I have to watch that closely. Keep an eye on the E-clip. Almost there. I am, no, not quite yet, just about there. I think that's, no, a little bit further. There, I'm down on the E-clip. Good. That bearing runs good. I like to put a little grease in those though. Alright, let's get it flipped over anyway, and we'll do the other side. And then I'm going to think about greasing this thing. Because this is the time to put a little extra lube in there. Some of these bearings don't come fully lubed very well. A little bit of assembly grease on there. That's just engine assembly grease. You can use a little bit of oil or anything. Just gives a little bits of a lube. All right, put this one on, and I might start this one with the hammer. There we go. Actually, this one almost go on all the way with the rubber mallet. Now, again, watching closely. And she's down on the E-clip. Yep. Good. 2 new bearings, but like I say, I like to have a little, I'm going to put a little grease in. I'm going to see if I can pick that seal out, and I want to grease those bearings inside. Not with much, just put a little something in them. So let me see if I can do this one first. They seem not quite as There she is. Not quite as lubed inside as I would think they should be, and they aren't. There's nothing in them really. So this is the time to do that. What do I have for that now? Something very light. I got some high temperature stuff put in there. This is a high temperature wheel bearing grease. And I don't need much. I need a little, but I need that little so much. So it's a high temperature grease, so it's way too much. You can always take out what I don't want. Like I said, I need that. I don't need much, but I only need a little, but I need that little so very much. The guy I used to work with used to say that all the time. Spanish guy, really nice fella. He always said that. You just need a little, I need that little so much. Usually talking about sleep, because we were mostly the time we were working in the mines, we were sleep deprived. So this is a high temperature wheel bearing grease. Get it worked in there nicely. This is the time to do it. Actually, the time to do it would be before I put the bearings on. But these are simple to get the seals out of, so there it goes. Just like so. That's better. Whew. They don't put much grease in those ones. I guess that's why they're cheap. Alright, let's do the other side. Move that a little bit so I can get that. There we go. Remember, when you're dealing with this stuff, if you are going to tackle a job like this, you don't need to put a lot of pressure on things. Just go gentle. Like John says in John from Arkansas, say gentle. You don't have to gorilla it or manhandle it to death. Just gentle. Because these are, you can actually be doing it all over again by manhandling it to death. A little bit more. All right, I'll just rub that in with my finger. Get it packed in there a little bit. There. We'll put the seal back in. And voila! Perfect. There she is, all the way in. Good. All right. So that is 2 bearings changed out. It won't run worse, that's for sure. It might not be any better, but it won't be worse. That sounds much better. A little bit of grease in them. Look at that. All right, so let me get the reverse order assembly, which is really nothing too spectacular to see. Oh, on this broken end cap, I'm going to just leave it. As a matter of fact, let's put it in right now and see how it fits. And I'm going to yeah, there it goes. And I'm going to risk the fact that it's it was cracked or broken half, because it's just a stabilizer, it's just a spacer. And it's fine. All right. Oh, and inside there, I said there was nothing else in there, but there was another shim in there, so that was interesting. All right. Let me just get you back out. We can do a little assembly, maybe. Wipe out the fields. Make sure there's no grease or anything in the fields, no dirt. So, I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see it. So you got to feed those wires back through. Twist them together so they stay together. Feed them back through the hole, like so. Leaving enough to get the fields on. Now remember, we marked the fields, didn't we? There we are. This is pretty straightforward here because this wire can't be anywhere else. But if it's down inside the armature area, it's going to get worn off. So it has to be up like this. Like so. Get it over the fields. Come on. There you go. And turn it. And remember, there are marks, remember? Gotta keep pulling the wire through at the same time. But don't yank on it too much because you don't want to break those wires off or you're into more trouble. There. That's on. And now we have the end cap here that has that little shim in it. You shove it on like so. Like that. And that's on there. And that's important. It's got that spring kind of keeps, I guess it allows for any, that spring loaded piece of tin that's in there that's bent. That allows for any distance, like say, because it has a little bit of a, you can't see it, but it has a little bit of ability to move this up and down. So if the bearings aren't quite in place, they're fine. All right. So I'll put this shaft. So I'm going to put it on after. Now I think it's supposed to go on first. It doesn't matter so much as long as it's on there. And where's our scratch mark? My eyesight is so, well there we are. My eyesight is getting so bad. Oh, make sure you don't lose that spacer. And it goes on like so. Just like that. Get the screws back through, just like so. These didn't have any kind of washer on them, so don't worry about that. And I'll snug these up with the pliers the same way they were. Do this one, like so. Oh, you see it all like that. And these are kind of like, they're like a carriage bolt in one end, so they won't turn on you. They weren't on tight, so super tight, but they were snug. There we go. Didn't have that all the way down. There. And I took the measurements on these bolts and stuff in case this doesn't work, but I'm pretty confident this is going to be working. So the reason I took the measurements is for the size, for frame size and everything. So if I had to buy a new motor, I can. So I did do all that. Those are just hand tight, snugged up pretty good. That's it. She working, I'm sure. Turns. So anyway, let me get the assembly all back together and I'll get it up on the burner and we'll see how it goes. Well, there she is. She's all back up in place. I'm going to turn the thermostat on. She's all plugged in. Let's see how she sounds. Fired up. Let's go over and have a listen. Oh yeah, back to the way she was. Nice and quiet. Let's just see if she fires up completely. You'll see through that hole there. How do you shut that light off up there? Make sure everything fires up good. Get rid of that light off there because that's going to get hot. And in the hole, you see the glow of the hot surface igniter. And in a bit of time, you'll hear the gas kick in. And we should get flames. If I did my job correctly, everything should be good. Sounds good. Well, there we go. Standing on the ladder here. Takes a few seconds to test everything out. There, clicked on. There's the burner open, or the gas valve open, and now there she goes. She hit the hot surface igniter, and we have heat again. I should have cleaned that little lens out. Maybe before I took the ladder away, I'll go up and do that. All right, we have heat with a good motor right up in there with good bearings. All right, everyone. Like I said, it's Jamieson's Repair Shop, and that's what we do here. We make repairs, and this was one of the repairs that absolutely needed to get done before I start working on this guy again. And right here is where we left off on this car, right here, before I went on my slacking off down in the desert. So we'll be getting back on the Thunderbird here pretty quick, and I got to cut the hole out in there. I got to put some clecos in first, drill some cleco holes, because it's time to actually make sure we can get this panel back in place. All right, that's it, everyone. Another successful repair at Jamieson's Repair Shop. And like I was just saying, we're going to get back on this Thunderbird. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.